Hi, I'm Mary Kopczynski, the CEO of RegAlytics, here to give you your update on this week's 30,742 regulatory alerts. And we now have over 2.4 million alerts in our back end that we are on the verge of being able to ask plain language questions. So the future is here. Come get a subscription before you're left in the dust. So the regulator of the week is definitely the FDIC. So for those of you who have not been following this very closely, there were allegations of harassment and a really bad culture at the FDIC. And so an independent report was commissioned, and the report, written by Cleary Gottlieb, a very reputable law firm, is now out. They interviewed over 500 current and former FDIC employees, and it is 114 pages of truly unbelievable conduct. You could even tell Cleary was trying to be scientific and factual in their report, but in the opening paragraph, they wrote, "We have completed our review, and we find that for far too many employees and for far too long, the FDIC has failed to provide a workplace safe from sexual harassment, discrimination, and other interpersonal misconduct. We also find that a patriarchal, insular, and risk-averse culture has contributed to the conditions that allowed for this workplace misconduct to occur and persist." It goes on, and at a certain point, the writers say, "It would be impractical to list and describe all of the allegations of workplace misconduct, so here's some examples to illustrate." An employee reported to us that a former executive in headquarters grabbed her and rubbed himself on her after happy hour. Another, while on detail in a field office, reported receiving a picture of an FDIC senior examiner's private parts out of the blue, only to be told later by others that she should stay away from him because he had a reputation. I mean, this thing reads like a scene from Animal House. It's astounding, and I did put the link in the comments for you just in case you would like some entertainment. That said, I don't want to make light of the situation because this happens in the workplace. And so if you are watching and you are in a situation where you are feeling harassed or in an incredibly uncomfortable environment, I just want to let you know that there are hotlines where you can report these things anonymously. And, pick up the phone and call a labor and employment attorney in your state. They will listen to you for free for the first hour confidentially and help guide you on what to do next. Cleary did laud the bravery for all of the people speaking out, even those that did back in the day that they felt it went nowhere. It at least established a track record of what was going on. So anyway, now that the report is out, Congress is responding, and there have been numerous calls for the current chair to step down, which I think seems appropriate. But anyway, speaking of voicing your concerns, the topic of the week is agency overreach. The CFTC Commissioner, Carolyn D. Pham, dropped a bomb ahead of the main meeting this week, requesting an independent review of the agency by the Government Accountability Office. She believes strongly that the CFTC is grossly overstepping its authority as an agency. She believes some of the rules it's passing and the enforcement actions it's taking are beyond its power and the definition of arbitrary and capricious, which is the constitutional standard of review for the Supreme Court to judge whether an agency's action violates due process. So that was highly unusual. And also, I will note, typically you would expect this maybe from a Republican nominee that's arguing that the government is overstepping, but Commissioner Pham is an appointee of President Biden. So I don't know, interesting. Why not do a review, GAO? Call Cleary. They've got a track record for investigating federal agencies. Also, the Federal Reserve released the summary of the exploratory pilot it did with 6 of the largest banks testing a climate scenario analysis. And you can imagine what people think in regards to overreach here. And then the FTC and their non-compete rule. I mentioned previously that some of the chambers of commerce were suing the FTC over the rule as overreach, and you would expect similar to the SEC, which announced that they were going to pause on enforcing their ESG rule because of lawsuits. This is the FTC's response. We've received comments questioning our authority to promulgate rules prohibiting unfair methods of competition under the FTC Act. The Commission asserted that its authority to pass such rules was explicitly granted by Congress in various legislative acts. The final rule is effective September 4th, 2024. So what else do you need to know? Well, the Executive Office of the President held a workshop on artificial intelligence and weather prediction. So I thought that was interesting. And that is it this week for RegAlytics. We have the global supply chain of the world's regulatory alerts in one very easy to use place. And if you need a solution for anything related to regulation, give us a call.